Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us at our end of our three-part series with the Department of General Services. We want to thank you for being with us today and a special gratitude for those who have stuck with us the last 3 weeks. I'm Olivia Rios, Director of Operations and Programs at the Los Angeles Latino Chamber of Commerce. And just to recap what you've learned these last few weeks, we went over how to do business with the state of California. I'm certified now what? And today's topic is contracting, with the state government. So you're getting the very best training for our very best friend here, Darwin Manuel, who will be our speaker. And today's topic will touch upon how the different state procurement methods are, procurement acquisitions, and more resources. So Darwin Manuel is from DGS. He has served as the business liaison for the Office of Small Business for the last 6 years. So before we start our session, just want to make sure that you mute yourselves, enjoy the conversation, please be open to learning, and we'll be answering questions in the chat box after every session. And once again, the session is being recorded. Darwin, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Olivia. Appreciate the time. And again, Olivia always gives me like a hyped introduction, so always appreciate the opportunity to speak about how the state can help our small business community. So as you mentioned, if you followed along for the past 2 weeks, we've been covering our whole webinar series for different stages of different small businesses, where they're at as far as their level in their pursuit for government contract. So today we will be discussing contracting with California state government. And just to start off, for those of you who may not have been with us for the past 2 webinars, again, my name is Darwin Manuel. I'm with the Business Outreach, my title is the Business Outreach Liaison, and I'm with the Department of General Services, more specifically with the Office of Small Business and BVBE Services. And one of my tasks is to help you understand state government process, offer assistance in all our state contracts, and help you identify contracting opportunities and discuss any contract programs that the state has to offer. So let's go ahead and dive right in because we have a lot of information to cover today. So as mentioned, we are going to cover how the state buys and what that means for you and how that's going to be useful, acquisition methods, the different type of methods that is used for state procurement, leverage procurement agreements, what that means, and the different types of leverage procurement agreements out there, solicitation formats, and also commercial useful function. We've mentioned this throughout all the webinar series because it's really important once you are awarded a solicitation that you follow a commercially useful function, and we'll share resources with you, right? And these resources are the organizations that you could reach out to for different needs that you may have as a business owner. Okay, so let's go right into how the state buys. So when the state purchases a good or a service, that's a little bit different from how an individual or people do everyday purchases, right? So an individual, we think about the options that we make and the decisions that involve going to a store or online to make purchases. So the process for the state is really different if you've never done business with the state. What I mean about that is that there's different guidelines that we have to abide by when we're expending public funds and taxpayer money. So we want to make sure that that money is being spent correctly. And so there's various rules, laws, regulations that's been created to achieve all that, and has resulted in distinct specific process for purchasing goods and services that we call a procurement process. And so there are different processes for purchasing various goods and services. There are many norms and common procurement processes and exceptions to those norms. So you'll hear a lot of, well, that depends, which just really means it depends on the procurement work. We'll go through all the major parts and why they're important, and knowing the state procurement process and how it works can hopefully help you determine or help you become more successful in responding to these contract opportunities. Because if you followed within the past 2 webinars, we go over like exactly the Cali Procure system, the different types of methods, and some of that information may or may not sound foreign to you. So if those methods don't make sense, I'm going to go over some of those terms so you're better equipped and a little more knowledgeable on what that means and how it pertains to you as a business owner or supplier. All right, so I brought up acquisition methods, right? So there's different types. There's the formal, informal, competitive. There's the SB/DVB option, fair and reasonable. We touched in the last webinar discussing emergency contracting and how you can get involved with that. And I also want to bring up leverage procurement agreements because that's a new topic that I haven't discussed at all. So the acquisition method, this identifies how the purchase needs to be made and what key activities within the procurement process should be followed. When a buyer goes to purchase something, a good or a service, they must decide which of these options they're going to use. This is determined by many factors as a buyer, including what they're purchasing, how much money they're going to be spending, what their purchasing authority is as a department, and what contracts already exist that they could make a decision on how they're going to purchase this, right? So there are some of the common acquisition methods small business or certified small businesses will encounter. We'll discuss each one, and knowing the acquisition methods used to procure the goods and services as a small business or as a business will help that business find and pursue the right opportunities, and it helps you with your market research. So meaning like when you're going about Cali Procure searching for bid opportunities, you'll know, okay, well, if it says SB/DVB option, then that must pertain to me, right? That must pertain to, that's the type of contracts that I should have more focus on. And I'll let you know what that means. But first, I want to discuss the formal, informal competition, competitive method. And if you run into a solicitation and see this method. All right, so the formal and informal acquisition method, this is a common competitive acquisition method used to purchase IT goods and IT services, non-IT goods and non-IT services. It's competitively bid, as the name suggests. It follows the procurement process we talked about, which involves identifying what that department's needs are and developing a solicitation, which is typically written. So on the back end, the state puts all this together. They plan as a team on how they're going to make this purchase. So typically, if this is advertised in Cali State Contracts Register on Cali Procure, right? And it has to be there for at least 10 days, which is the norm. If it's advertised, businesses with a UNSPSC on their solicitation will get notified. So this is how you would communicate. This is how you would get this information. It'll be sent to you. Buyers can also reach out to a business directly, and having that same UNSPSC that's relevant keywords on the business's certification will allow the state buyer to find your business and solicit you for potential bids. It may allow for phone quotes based on dollar thresholds, and it'll say in the solicitation itself. So it includes an evaluation and an award process where the buyer evaluates all the responses, all the bid responses that's made based on the evaluation criteria. So that evaluation criteria could be based off of low cost or best value, depending on how that specific solicitation was written. So let's go into more detail about where I feel a small business or a disabled veteran business plays a part in where it's more exclusive for you. And this is what we call the SB DVVE option. So this is another acquisition method that you may run into. It's exclusive to certified small businesses like yourself. So if you're already certified with the state and you're bidding and you see this, you are exclusive to this specific type of contract. If you haven't gotten certified, please look into it, and we'll show you how to go about that and see if state contracts is a fit for you. And so if a business is not certified, if your business is not certified, you're automatically excluded from this procurement process. Meaning, and in the past, I've kind of talked in detail with this. There's what we call advocates, right, that are assigned to each department. So if you are a small business, just based on your criteria, but you're not certified, then you could miss out on an opportunity. And so most of these advocates, they want to be able to see your certification number in play, because this moves fast. They have timelines they're trying to meet. They're trying to meet their goals. And so the interactions that they make, they want to make sure that they don't have to go through the process of certification to look for a small business. And so this method is used for relatively small procurements, right? And when I say small, I mean 5,000 and a penny, that's large to me, through $249.99 and 99 cents. So this is where that type of procurement lands, or up to $388,000 if you're in the business of public works. And it requires only 2 quotes, meaning from either 2 small businesses or 2 disabled veteran business enterprise services. And they just can't mix or match to be eligible for this type of procurement. And they can be evaluated based on low cost or best value, again, depending on the solicitation and what's written on there. It may be advertised, though it is not required. So I say that it's really important to create that rapport with state agencies, advocates, because the advocates is pretty much your line to understand what's being procured out there. So if it's not advertised, how else would you know? So having an updated profile, robust profile is helpful, but also you need to be in contact with your advocates to make sure that you know what's the upcoming procurements that may not be advertised. So we always strongly encourage these state departments, because that's part of our job, is to help state agencies reach their participation goals, to use small businesses. And buyers typically solicit bid responses from certified businesses by email. Again, the emphasis of the importance of a robust profile on your Cali Procure with your UNSPSC and keywords are going to play a huge factor in your success. All right, and then there is what we call a fair and reasonable acquisition method, and you'll notice that these are the guidelines for that specific type of solicitation. Has to be under 10,000. So the buyer needs, when I say the buyer, the state buyer needs only one bid that will determine for a solicitation to be determined fair and reasonable. And they can award the contract, and then they could just award the contract straight out. While it is possible buyers may solicit bids from multiple businesses and receive multiple bids to review, they only need one that's required. So as long as it fits the fair and reasonable criteria, then they could award. The buyer can use a variety of methods to make this fair and reasonable determination, which includes price comparison, catalog or marketing prices. This is like the researches that buyers use to make these determinations. Controlled pricing, historical pricing, or cost benefit analysis. So I'm trying to share with you how a buyer could consider an approach on what they look at when they make their determinations to award. So what's important for the business to know for this acquisition method is to be responsive when your opportunity comes, when the buyer reaches out. If a business is slow to respond to the buyer, another business may have already submitted their bid, and the buyer may award the contract to another business. So you could potentially lose out. And this again, the emphasis on the importance of having a robust Cali Procure with UNSPSC and keywords is going to be very important. One more thing I'd like to note is that, there may be times that you just couldn't bid, right? You not that you weren't qualified for it, but you had other work. But part of that rapport, part of that establishing a relationship is letting them know why you couldn't bid, or letting them know no bid. That response is huge in communicating, because not saying anything at all when you get that opportunity lets them know, like, hey, you know what? Maybe this is not the business to work with. So always look at your opportunities, and even if it's not a fit right now, let them know that you appreciate it, and just that there's no bid at this time. All right, so let's move towards emergency contracting. And I've kind of dived into this. I want to say with our certified Now What webinar. And this is another acquisition method for certified businesses that I strongly encourage you to know about if it's a fit for you. So we're all familiar with emergencies, right? We've gone through it. We've gone through fires. We've gone through floods, earthquakes in some capacity, depending on your age. And I remember we just hit a small earthquake in the past week or 2 weeks. And, some of us felt it, some of us didn't. So that probably wouldn't have counted as an opportunity. But emergencies can also include something less widespread, meaning less urgent and concerning, like a water pipe breakage in a hospital or a state hospital. The situation is an emergency for the hospital, requires immediate response because the state must respond immediately. The solicitation is not competitive. So it's not realistic, for example, for a forest fire or water pipe breaking in the hospital for the state to spend weeks writing up and releasing a competitive solicitation, right? So the state has to act faster and respond to the situation. And the state does lots of different goods and services when dealing with emergencies, things that businesses don't always think of. So to support the inclusion of certified businesses in these contract opportunities, we created what we call the SBDVBE Emergency Registry. So this is separate from Cali Procure's database, meaning it's used by state buyers to find certified businesses that are already ready, willing, and able to support the state in an emergency. So buyers will look for businesses when an emergency strikes, and beforehand, only certified businesses can register in this emergency registry. So when businesses register, instead of using keywords and UNSPSC codes to describe what they sell, they instead select from a predetermined list of goods and services. This simplifies things for businesses and for the buyers themselves, and builds confidence that the businesses that do sign up are a good fit for emergency contracting. So if you're a business ready and willing to support the state in an emergency instance, then consider signing up for the SBDVBE Emergency Registry. But if this is not a fit for you, I would discourage you from signing up. So it's important that buyers can, in an emergency, respond to these businesses, and they could respond on a timely manner. So these are some of the categories, again, for emergency registry that you would type in. So just some information that you're going to need if you decide that this is a fit for you. You will need your certification number. So of course you would have to been certified at this point. The emergency categories, and these are the emergency categories that I was referring to. Description of products and services you provide. Your business address. So updating your profile is important too, right? Especially during an emergency. And your contact information, both your primary and your emergency number. So having that so they know which number to call during those times is going to be important. And we have more information on that on Cali Procure as far as what your needs are going to be. So we could share that with you at the end of this webinar. So let's open it up for questions. I don't want to talk too much within this segment because we have so much to cover, but please remember, I don't expect you to remember everything we're discussing right now. This is not a sprint. This is basically going to be a long-term decision you make when you do state work or state procurement. It's something that we're going to be there for you to help you, to guide you throughout the whole process. So please, Olivia or Carlos, if there's any questions.
So I just looked at the chat and there's a question from Sylvia. Is the emergency registry open-ended?
Open-ended meaning, can you clarify a little more? Does that?
Sylvia, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, hi, good morning. Yes, is that always open and available for registration?
Yes, yeah,
Or do you have to wait to see like an advertisement?
not at all. I will show you on Cali Procure in the resources later where you could find that. Also, at the end of this, just note that we have what we call one-on-one appointments that you could set up with one of our consultants or staff members within outreach, and we can show you exactly where to find that and, you know, all the information you need to be considered for that.
So next question from Sonyal. How do agencies decide which acquisition method to choose when they do not advertise solicitations?
Sure, great question. This is something that Department as a procurement determines together based on history. So it's going to be a decision they make based on the type of acquisition that it's going to be. And that's going to be shared with you when that notification is sent. So they base it off history, right? They base it off of what they're purchasing, what the time frame, just the importance of that procurement and all the necessary information that they need, and they make their determination that way. And the price, right? As I mentioned, the threshold to the price.
So another question, you talked about certification. Is there more than one type of certification available? I know there's DGS, but you also mentioned a couple of different states. Can you share just briefly the
Sure. Sure. So I mentioned, so we have what we call the state certification, SB certification, right? And then we have what we call a small business certification for the purpose of public works. And then we also have what we call the disabled veteran business enterprise. And I'll share with you the link as far as what the requirements and eligibilities are for that. So I understand not everyone was here for the past webinars, but that's fine. That's something we could work on together, just so you could know how this process works as far as certification is concerned. But I will help get you direct you to the right place for that, and we'll go over that more. So just real quick, if you're considered a small business and you're available for this certification, if you are a business that's that lives in California and that you have 100 or fewer employees, and that you have a gross annual receipt below 16 million, just in a nutshell. And then if you are a veteran, a disabled veteran, there's also what we call a certification for disabled veterans. And if you are a business that does public works, it's similar to the small business, but it's just a higher threshold and you could have more employees. And I'll go over that later and show you where to find it.
All right. And then lastly, from Teresa, for clarification, what do you mean requires only 2 quotes for the SB option? And when you say the SB options are not always advertised, does that mean that we need to be on the lookout for the portals for these opportunities?
Well, when I say it's not advertised, it means that it's not on our Cali Procure system. It's not something you'll find. But if you are a small business and you are a certified small businesses, then they could find you. So that you will receive the notification that way. But that's why it's really important to get certified first, and also very important that you have communication with advocates so they know who you are, because you're competing for these with other small businesses, right? So knowing what's up and coming and knowing which departments you want to target is going to be important, that you keep up with that. You keep up with knowing when the state's actually going to buy. So there's more to it than what I'm trying to state, but we can work together, and just so you could get a better idea and how to be strategic in your approach.
And then lastly, I know you talked briefly about the various certification, but we do need to remind the small businesses or businesses in general that these certifications do have an expiration date. It's not you apply once and you're certified forever, but rather it's what, on a yearly basis, 2 years?
2 years.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, and I'm going to plug this in, one of the benefits of being a chamber member is that we do offer DGS certification. So you're able to apply for these opportunities, but you must be a member. So that is part of our partnership with DGS, is that we get members certified. So if you're not a member, please become one, and we have an offer at the end of the program. So please continue, Darwin.
Okay. All right. So now we're gonna talk about another opportunity known as leverage procurement agreements. And you may run into this when you're going on Cali Procure, right? And you're looking at the different contracts and solicitations out there. And you're probably wondering, well, what does LPA mean? Or what type of agreement is this? Is this something I could get involved in? Well, it's an agreement between the state and one or more businesses to sell specific goods or services to the state for an agreed upon pricing, requirements, and other terms and conditions, and for the state to purchase those goods and services as needed. So DGS, that's the department I work for, Department of General Services, establishes these agreements, and other state departments use these agreements when purchasing, all while adhering to policies, procedures, and user instructions. So these LPAs may also be available to local entities like counties and cities and special districts, education systems, and other government entities. Last webinar, I discussed reciprocity partners, and there's different types of counties, cities, and special districts that may use our small business program certification admission. And so you can do work with the counties and the cities and special districts, and they may or may not honor our certification process. So meaning you just have to do it one time. And it varies from one LPA to another, one leverage procurement agreement to another. The user instructions of the leverage procurement agreement to determine who is allowed to use the LPA. So that comes into play. These agreements are awarded for $0 because they only set up the framework to allow the business to sell their products or services to the state, and for the state to purchase those goods or services as needed. So when an LPA is set up, there's no award, right? There's no money that's awarded. The state can project a dollar amount they expect that's expected to be spent through the LPAs over the length of the agreement, giving the business an idea of how much money they can expect to make. So these LPAs are enabled to streamline purchases by removing repetitive, resource intense, costly, and time-consuming solicitation process by departments, and they can last multiple years. So it's just another way the state conducts procurements. And these are the different types of leverage procurement agreements out there that DGS has created. The ones we think that are going to be important for certified small businesses to know about. We'll go through each one just so you have an idea, and we can talk about it as we go along and how they work and what businesses need to do to get one of these agreements. So let's start with master agreements. So master agreements are contracts that are competitively bid when established. They are advertised in our Cali Procure system through the CSCR, and businesses will learn about the opportunity in the same way as other public competitive solicitations are through notification from Cali Procure and appearing on supplier searches conducted by the state buyers through the keywords and UNSPSCs. So master agreements may be awarded to multiple businesses. So it really depends on the contract and whether multiple awards is appropriate. So if there are multiple awards that will be made with clear in the solicitation. When one or more businesses are awarded the agreement, the state departments and potentially other entities can use this agreement to purchase from any of those businesses as needed. The process of purchasing may require offers. In the case of contract awarded to multiple businesses, the buyer would get offers from those businesses as opposed to just selecting one of the businesses and making a purchase. So this process of solicitation or of soliciting offers adds to a measure of competition among the businesses that are awarded the LPAs. And these LPAs are available to any state agency that expend public funds. If making an offer is required, departments must solicit offers from a minimum of 3 suppliers, including 1 small business and or 1 disabled veteran business enterprise when it's available. So just to give you some examples of what a master agreement purchase is, it's on-site confidential destruction services, PPE waste and removal services, technology, digital and data consulting services, temporary medical staffing services, transit processor services, unarmed security guard services. So I bring this up because sometimes, we'll get small businesses that have a business and they are, in the business of providing security guard services. And they say, well, I'd never received a notification for that. Well, you may have not known that they are in the master agreement. So your focus needs to be in the master agreement if that's the type of service you provide, because that's the way that procurement is conducted. So that's why it's important to understand exactly what acquisition methods are being used, so you're putting your focus in the right areas. All right, so there is what we call statewide contracts, and this is just another type of leverage procurement agreement. They're competitively bid and are for commonly purchased goods. They are done as single awards, although there are some that are multiple awards. They're usually established as mandatory for state departments to use. That means if departments want to purchase a good that is a mandatory statewide contract, they're required to purchase through the statewide contract. They would have to use this leverage procurement agreement. Now, generally, a small business or a disabled veteran business enterprise off-ramp is available. And what that means is this is where a state department, a purchasing state department will be permitted to purchase equivalent products at the same or lower price from certified small businesses or DVBEs, even if that certified business does not have a statewide contract, so long as the business meets the requirements of the statewide contract. To determine whether a particular statewide contract has an SBDVB off-ramp, you'd have to consult the statewide contract details and the user instructions. So the takeaway from this portion, the statewide contract, is that there may be a statewide contract in place for that state agency. This is the way they have to make that purchase. But that solicitation, because state agencies are trying to meet their participation goals, they could implement what we call the SBDVB off-ramp. So when you're looking at a solicitation, you should be looking at these opportunities, the SBDVB off-ramp, because this may allow you to be considered for these contracts, because they're going to try to reach out to small businesses that may not have a statewide contract. And just some examples of what you could find on a statewide contract could be asphalt, food items, all these different types. If this is what you do, this is probably where those contracts are. They're in statewide contracts, and not so much being used with the other procurement methods that I've mentioned. Another LPA, software licensing program, or SLP as it's known within the departments. These are negotiated agreements with software publishers for the purchase of various software. These agreements are negotiated and they are not bid. So this is different than all the other acquisition methods and LPAs that we've talked about so far. Since they're negotiated, there's no solicitation for businesses to respond to, and nothing is advertised on the CSCR. And it is a very different process. Additionally, publishers do not sell directly to the state themselves. Instead, they use resellers, which they alone authorize, using and following whatever process and methods they choose. So publishers can authorize between 3 and 6 resellers. The state does not play any role in the selection of resellers. So if a certified business wants to become a reseller for a software publisher, that's an SLP agreement, that business needs to work with the publisher. Publishers can change resellers throughout the life of an agreement for up to twice a year. When the state entities use the SLP agreement to purchase software from resellers, they must get offers from 3 businesses, making the act of purchasing software competitive among the available resellers. However, if only 1 business out of the 3 responds, the buyer can still move forward with a purchase, though they have to justify it. So if there's any software publishers that want to get their here today that want to get their own SLP agreement, they can contact software licensing program here at DGS, and I provided the email and the phone number for you. All right. Sorry about that. All right, next. These are some of the SLPs, software licensing programs, software maintenance support, implementation, training, installation. And again, I share this because, you know, this might be your line of business and you're trying to find out opportunities. Well, you have to look towards software licensing program. And just so you know, in SLP, the standalone hardware is not available, consulting, telecommunications. So if that's your line, it is not part of the software licensing program. All right, another one I wanted to discuss is cooperative agreements. And these are cooperative agreements establishes cooperative multiple or multi-state contracts where participating states may join together to achieve a cost-effective and efficient acquisition of quality products and services. So cooperative agreements are established from master's agreements, competitively bid by another entity, such as another state or a group of states that work together. So these agreements are established from competitively bid master agreements. They are also advertised in the CSER on our Cali Procure system. So businesses can see, they could see it on Cali Procure, get notified about it from Cali Procure and respond to it through where any other competitive solicitations are. When a cooperative agreement is established by the state other than California, it may still be advertised on our system. However, the advertisement is simply to direct the business to the procurement system of the other state, and the businesses must follow the procurement process of that state. Another way for businesses to become part of a cooperative agreement is as a reseller. A reseller is a business that does not hold a cooperative agreement themselves, but has been identified and authorized as a reseller by a business that holds the cooperative agreement. The business that holds the agreement makes all the decisions about becoming a reseller. The state does not play any role in selecting resellers. The only requirements that the state does have is that all resellers must meet the requirements of the cooperative agreement. The agreement holder can change resellers based on the terms of the agreement, such as once a quarter. And cooperative agreements may require offers, which means that a buyer, when using this agreement to purchase a good or service, must solicit offers from multiple businesses that hold the agreement or authorized resellers. This process then becomes competitive among those being solicited, and some agreements do not require offers, which means the buyer can simply purchase at will. And as the name suggests, cooperative agreements are used by many states and local entities. After all, this is the purpose of cooperative agreements. So if you run into a solicitation that has cooperative agreement, note that these may be based on multi-state agreements for goods and services. And they are advertised and they have resellers and may require offers. And these are some examples of what can be purchased through current cooperative agreements held by small businesses. Just some examples: copiers, managed prints, construction equipment. And again, if this is the type of services you have as a small business, it could be through the cooperative agreement. All right. Another one I wanted to share with you is called the California Multiple Award Schedule, better known as CMAS. And this is another type of procurement method agreement available to state agencies and local governments to procure various goods and services. So as the name suggests, getting a CMAS does not involve competitive bidding or negotiation, but instead requires a business to apply for a schedule. So this is just my opinion. This is where I see small businesses fit well in. And this is a leverage procurement agreement that I feel not enough small businesses look into. So a schedule is a list of goods and services. There are many different types of schedules, and they are created and maintained by the federal government. So you might be familiar with the federal government's version. The California mirrors the federal program to create the California Multiple Award Schedule. So a schedule also contains pre-established pricing and terms and conditions. To become a holder of a schedule, you have to apply for this. A business does not have to sell everything listed on the schedule to get it. It just needs to sell something on the schedule that meets the requirements of that schedule. Because this is an application process, multiple businesses can and do hold the same schedule. So the result is going to be a pool of suppliers that the state can solicit offers from. This creates competition among the pool of schedules holders when the state or other entity goes to procure a good or service through CMAS. That means a business should still treat this like a competitive environment where marketing one's business is important. The pricing can be key. CMAS sets the maximum pricing, but businesses can offer lower rates, which can be advantageous for the business. So just some keynotes on CMAS. This differs from competitive bid process in that CMAS creates a pool of suppliers that an agency can solicit offers from for up to $500,000 per order. So the use of CMAS is optional and is available to the state and local government agencies. So when you're looking and you're researching and you see CMAS on there, and it's a small business, they have applied for this and they're in the system. As I mentioned, it's still going to be your job as a small business to market your company. Just because you have applied and are on the CMAS system does not automatically mean when that state agency decides to procure using this method that they're going to select you. You still are competing with other small businesses that are that have a CMAS schedule. Okay, these are some of the examples of what can be purchased through CMAS that are currently being held by certified small businesses or just businesses in general. And so if your line of work is similar to this and you're certified, but you don't have a CMAS schedule, then that's probably why you're missing out on opportunities. So you might want to look into this program. Some of the items or services that are not included, these are facility planning, medical services, registered nursing, security guard services, and for reason being is possibly because the state already has these in play as far as employment is concerned. All right, and if you're interested in learning more about CMAS, this is the link or portal for you. You create an account, registry, and apply as a new CMAS. And if you just want to know more information, we will share this deck with you so you know exactly where to find CMAS. All right, so these are some of the important information that you need to have. For CMAS, having this information ready ahead of time makes that whole process easier. So of course, you might want to read up more information on this, and I'll share some of those links with you. Okay. Just as a refresher, when you go to Cali Procure and you'll see this landing page, this is where you would find those leverage procurement opportunities. So you just go to sell to the state, and then it'll bring you to this link where you click on search for state contracts. Then that state leverage procurement agreements will look like this. And this is where you can navigate through and find those opportunities. I know I gave you a lot of information on that. Do we have any questions?
Someone just requested to be in touch with the resources, but we'll be sharing the deck
Absolutely.
where you can contact them directly on where you could make your one-on-one appointment.
Yeah.
And I had a quick question. So you talked about multi-state agreements for goods and services. Can you share some examples just maybe of the other states that you're doing business where someone who is certified can do, get an opportunity for one of those multi-state contracts?
Like examples of the type of services that
Yes. Yeah, so for example, if you do copier cleaning or something like that, and you have, opportunities with the state, but, California, but you also have an agreement with other states, be like.
Got you. Yeah, that I'm not going to have a specific example for myself because we have a different unit that covers those multi-state cooperative agreements. But yeah, I'll definitely share that with you and show you where to find it on our website and who you could reach out to.
Other than that, no questions, so we could move on.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about non-advertised solicitation, how you would learn about it and how to find it. So this is maybe one of the most common questions. If a solicitation or contract opportunity is not advertised, how do I learn about it? And someone posed that question prior, right? So how do I find it? For the most part, you don't. You're not gonna find it. The solicitation or contract opportunity is going to find you. The buyer who is in charge of the procurement finds your company and decides to solicit a response from you. And the way the buyer finds you, again, is through Cali Procure. It's also essential that you have that updated, robust Cali Procure profile. Now, that's one way also, but another way is getting yourself in front of an advocate who speaks directly to all the buyers within their department. So that's one way you could find out about upcoming solicitations that might not be advertised. Creating that relationship, creating that rapport. All right. So non-advertised solicitations, how do I learn about it? How do I find it? And the operating finds you. Any questions about that as far as non-advertised solicitations?
No questions.
Okay. All right, let's move on towards some of this information that you may be already familiar with. These are what we call solicitation formats. Now that we've finished talking about acquisition methods, let's talk about these formats. These are some of the more of the common solicitation formats certified businesses can expect to encounter. The format of a solicitation is influenced by the acquisition type and the acquisition method, which we have talked about, and the dollar amount, complexity of the procurement, and all the risk factors. The solicitation format also contributes to how the procurement will be conducted and what the buyer expects of the business in submitting a bid. So this was another question previously that was asked, how do they make these determinations? This is it. They're knowing the solicitation format can help a business understand these parts of the procurement, better access how to fit their company to fulfill the solicitation and be successful in responding to the solicitation. So we'll go through each one of these formats. First one is RFQ, and this is the most common written solicitation format used to conduct informal competitive acquisition, right? We talked about informal competitive acquisition. The RFQ is straightforward. This is the procurement format that identifies what is needed or requests a proposed solution and tends to be a low in risk and in complexity. Informal solicitation, goods and IT only, simple to explain. They're the lowest complexity, often accomplished via email. Low cost or value effectiveness, best value is used for LPAs from, for example, the CMAS and the master agreements. And then there is the invitation for bid, IFB. This is a written solicitation document used to solicit bid responses for non-IT goods or for IT goods and or services where suppliers are asked to provide a bid to the state, known and detailed clear requirements. So an IFB is also used to obtain simple, common, or routine non-IT services that may require personal or mechanical skills where little discretion is used in performing the work, such as routine pest control, equipment maintenance, uniform rentals. An IFB can also be used for public works projects. The requesting agency or the requesting buyer knows exactly what they want. They just need bids for it. So that's an example of an IFB. For an IFB, the state provides a complete statement of work describing everything that the state needs the business to accomplish, including all the work, supplies, personnel, and time frame. So an IFB is typically awarded by the lowest cost. However, there could be exceptions to that rule. And then there is the request for proposal, RFP. This is for the more complex services in which professional expertise is needed and may vary, where different methods and approaches may be applied during the performance. For example, professional services such as auditing, specialized data collection, right? So performance requires varying methods or approaches, but not innovation or creativity. The methods and approaches used may not differ significantly from one proposer to another, which allows cost to be used as the deciding factor for making the award. And then there is also request for offer. This is the RFO. So this is done when purchasing against an LPA. An RFO is a document sent to LPA contractors, which contain requirements for a specific transaction and requests a specific response or offer. So the individual user instructions of the LPA will indicate whether additional information is required. Just as an example, a consultant with a CMAS gets an RFO to provide IT consulting services. The business responds as do other CMAS holders, those that have applied and got approved. The buyer evaluates the responses and then they award the contract. Any questions with any of the formats we discussed?
There is one question from Miguel, and it's as follows. We do IT services. I
Mhm.
want to register for CMAS. We found this on DGS website. Does this mean we can offer it IT services here? CMAS offers a wide variety of commodities, non-IT services, and information technology products and services at prices which have been assessed to be fair, reasonable, and competitive. So it looks like his question is, Miguel, you want to come on real quickly?
I know Miguel.
Yes.
Yes.
Darwin, good morning.
Good
Hey,
morning.
Miguel.
Good morning. I am enjoying your webinar this morning. It's absolutely opening my eyes a lot. And I'll come in the camera for a second as well. So yeah, we learned about this the other day
Mhm.
with Peter, and so I don't understand this part of the website. It says that we're not allowed to offer IT services through this what's it called, the CMAS portal. You just went through it after my question, but I still don't understand it.
You're asking if what you offer is included in CMAS, right?
No, it looks like IT services are excluded from CMAS. That's what it.
No, I don't think so. I want
That's
to say
not-
it's included because
is
as
included.
you see on here, IT consultant services is included. Computer hardware and technology, which I know is part of your business.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I felt you should consider, because a lot of computer hardware technology is processed through the CMAS program.
Perfect. I'm gonna reach out to somehow somebody to get registered in this CMAS portal.
Yeah. CMAS
very-
they have their own unit also. So if you have any questions before you apply, right, they could answer those for you.
Thank you much, Olivia. Thank you. This has been amazing.
Oh,
Of
you're welcome.
course.
Thank you.
Just remember to keep your certification up. So if it's expiring, let me know and we could help you out with that. So we continue, we appreciate you continue being a member of the chamber.
Thank you.
All right, great. So let's quickly move on here. I think I'm rambling, talking a lot about these, and I want to get to some of like the things that you need to prepare yourself, right, to make you more contract ready. So let's talk about contract readiness. There are some things that you should consider to determine if you are ready for contract. I've met with Miguel, this is some of his concerns, like, am I able to meet the requirements, the financial capacity? How do I know all that? So before you do a lot of the work to submit a bid for a solicitation or try to get a LA or a LPA, make sure you meet all the requirements. I would hate for you to go through this whole process and you ultimately cannot do the job. So questions to ask yourself is, do you have the financial capacity? The state often pays after you complete the work, right? Not before. And it can take up to 45 days to make that payment. So you need to make sure you have the financial capacity to complete that contract. Can you deliver on the contract? This is really asking about your capacity to complete and completely fulfill the contract. You need to assess if you can do that or if this contract is too large for your business to handle right now. Some other parts to consider is thinking about your past performance, your required experience and skills, and the capability of your business. Are you eligible? And then some quick tips just with regards to being contract ready. Olivia has mentioned this from topic to topic. Do not let your certification lapse. And you could lose out on an opportunity. So you want to keep it up to date and renew it when needed. And I want to say that you will receive notification from certification to let you know where you're at. And make sure you keep your profile information current. Make sure you hold any certifications and or licenses that you need to perform the work. And also make sure you have the needed insurance, depending on the type of work that you do. And you may need insurance that's required in performing services for the state, but not for goods or services. Some of the common mistakes, I'm not going to read through all of these, but these are just the ones that I hear from buyers or from advocates that help small businesses. It could be as little as like leaving out required information. So, you know, there's specific times and dates that these have to be submitted. So you got to make sure that you're on point. And if you have any questions at all, you want to ask those questions early. Do not wait until the end to ask your question. Always read the solicitation documents and make sure you understand them. And as much as we want to help you, at the end of the day, myself, as a state employee, there's limitations to where I can help. Solicitations and as far as understanding what it says and what is needed from you. So you want to know who your resources are, right? When it comes to procurement. And I'll share those resources with you later. You want to utilize your advocate. My job generally is to talk to you about the program itself and what we're offering to small businesses and disabled veterans and navigating through the system. There are state employees that we call advocates for each state agency that can refer to those specific state departments that you're targeting. So you want to utilize all your resources. All right. So if you secure a state contract and you've gotten to that point, congratulations. It also means that there are responsibilities for that contract and that you're legally bound to deliver. So if you do not, and that is not good for your business, you could be failing on a state contract, and that'll help hurt your reputation and make it more difficult for you to get new ones. As I mentioned, for the most part, many of these jobs do not pay until after the work is done. And it could take up to 45 days after receiving an undisputed invoice to do so. So think about how your business will stay financed during that time before making those commitments, right? Having reserves. And or also, one thing I didn't mention, maybe working amongst each other, right? Working amongst other small businesses to bid on contracts. And yeah, that for the most part, that's the biggest tips that I could have for you, is to be responsive, to understand the procurement, and to really utilize your resources. Any questions for that?
I don't see any questions in the chat.
All right, great. So let's move on to, I know you heard me talk about this over and over again until it turned blue to the head. And basically, commercially useful function is going to be important in regards to ensuring to prevent pass-throughs, to ensure that the preference that we're giving within the small business program is given to the work that's being performed. So it doesn't, this commercially useful function does not exist outside of the contract. So getting certified does not automatically mean that the work is performed on the contract. The CUF evaluation is done by the buyers themselves, of the contract officials of the awarding department, pre-award and post and during the life of that contract. So your business does not perform a commercially useful function if you are an extra participant in a transaction, contract, or project through which funds are passed in order to obtain the appearance of a small business, disabled veteran business enterprise participation, not being used to perform the work as stipulated in the bid, and it's no longer used to provide goods or services listed in the initial bid response. So in short, your business must do the work that it was hired to do. And this commercially useful function protects the integrity of the small businesses in place, the program itself. So just note that this is going to be important for you as a small business, because there's strict penalties for not performing a commercially useful function. All right, so we mentioned in the past, other resources that could help you, including the LA Latino Chamber. But if you are a small business here listening in and you're just starting out, you may want to reach out to the Small Business Development Center first, because these are business consulting, planning, marketing, and getting you the capital that you may need to get started. So if you're already in the process of, if you're already an established business and you're ready to bid and go through that process, but you have questions within some of the formats and acquisition methods we've discussed, you may want to reach out to your local Apex Accelerator. They help with government contracting, because as I mentioned, there's limitations to what myself and my colleagues can do as state workers, because this has to be a fair playing field. And also there's a resource known as SCORE for business mentorship. So in review, we've discussed how the state buys, all the different acquisition methods that are being used, leverage procurement agreements and what those are used for in terms of procurement, solicitation formats, all the RFQ, ISB, commercially useful function, and all the resources that you could reach out to. Again, just to stay updated and to know what type of events we have, any programs that's being advertised out there, you could find on LinkedIn. So follow us at linkedin.com/company/DGS-OSDS, and you'll get all the information you need in terms of state procurement. And also mention how you could maybe get further information. You could set up an appointment with one of topics that includes introduction to state contracting. Let's say you're not registered and you want to know what the terms are and how to go about that process. Make an appointment for getting registered and any questions you have in regards to the program or certification process. If you are already certified, but yet you're still, needing help in updating your profiles, you could schedule an appointment that way. And if you need help finding the right contract opportunity for you and your firm, we could help you with that also. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate everyone and so many of you putting aside over an hour of your time spent, and I hope it was beneficial for you. Again, my name is Darvin Manuel, and I've shared my information also. So if you have any questions pertaining to this webinar or any of the past ones that we discussed, please feel free to contact me.
Well, thank you so much, Darwin, and to DGS for our partnership. And that concludes our three-part series with the Department of General Services. But before I do share our upcoming events, I'm inviting our partners at Delta Airlines to share some important information about their services with us today. And I'd like to introduce Tiago Barrionuevo, an executive of Delta Airlines. So welcome, Tiago.
Hi, everyone. Hi, nice to meet you, Olivia. I came here just for give you some details. And actually, I think it's more hack for travel and for all the members can use it, our tools. But before I talk about this really fast, I'll talk about actually for two things. The first one is our investment, what we have been doing in LA airport. And the second part will be really helpful for small and medium companies. We have one website, we call it news.delta.com. And right now I just bring a few information about what we are doing in East Coast. So the first one, Delta have some strategy in different states. When you go to the state, we say, let's win in the state. And how to win? I think most of the time is talking about investment. So for LA, we already in a decade invest more than $12 billion at the airport. But I will be more specifically, and Delta and Los Angeles World Airport are jointly invested $2.3 billion at the airport. So it's a lot of business and a lot of investments. And then you guys can say, okay, Thiago, so what's that's advantage for us? It's more technology, more comfort. So for example, Delta Skyway in Los Angeles as the target to finish in 2023. They consolidate the two terminals, Terminal 2 and 3, that's bringing more volume for people pass by to the airport. And also more technology, we put a little more kiosk to help it like self check-in. And also, I think my boss over here behind me, he just told me the biggest and the beautiful sky club that we have is in LA right now. So we have indoor, outdoor, also sky deck. Is an incredible sky club that we have. And also that's the investment. But okay, Thiago, what my company can take advantages on this? Let me stop that screen, and then I open that program here. Yeah. So for a small company, we have that first program for corporate agreement. We call it Sky Bonus, Delta Sky Bonus. So the first thing is free, totally free. You just can go like in the QR code over here and just scan, and then you can enjoy the program. And that program is the same thing as Sky Miles program. Everybody here in the room have the Sky Miles program? Yeah, I think yes. And then it's the same thing for Sky Bonus. You can earn points, you can enroll your company, and then if the company buy the tickets for the employee, the company earn points, and also the traveler earn points. So it's a double points for the same travel. That's really good because the company, usually the company pay the ticket if they, and then what's the advantage for the company? So they have points as well. They can just enjoy the program. It's free again. Put the Sky Bonus number when they issue the ticket, and boom, that's it. Really easy. Your agents can handle also that program. You can add the agents as an administrator, and Maira bring me this campaign for the LA Chamber. So the agents can earn 100 in travel voucher if they apply using that code SKYSP12. All right, and that's the Maira contact, maira.braga@delta.com. And that's my part. I just bring those two hacks. The first one is the Sky Miles is really important because all our domestic flights, we have right now free fast Wi-Fi. That's really, really good for stay like working in airplane. But for go inside, like connected to the Wi-Fi, you need have your Sky Miles account. So everyone, if doesn't have, also I put here the QR code for Sky Miles. And the second one is Sky Bonus. Is Sky Miles for company, for business. It's the same thing. Your company earn points and your traveler also earn those points. That's the news I bring for you guys today.
Thank you, Tiago, for sharing that. I know that the Chamber, Delta Airlines is the airline of choice for the LA Latino Chamber. So we're very grateful for our partnership. And I know we'll be using Delta on our next trip to our upcoming conferences. So we appreciate the information. I know it's great for companies to have, to sign up to the Sky Bonus program, because when you do earn miles, it does, there are perks to it. And just this last Tuesday, if I could share briefly, we attended a reception hosted by your organization, and we took a trip of Terminal 2 and 3, and the upgrades are beautiful. I don't know if I could express that, but it's lovely. We, the way you can only talk about the lounge is by experiencing it. And it's first class. So we appreciate that very much. And, we look forward to continuing our partnership for Delta
Thank
to
you.
be part of all of our webinars, to share this news as well as future news and
Mhm.
how our members can benefit from the offers that you have. So thank
Oh,
you.
perfect. Thank you. Thank you. We have a really good connection for Mexico City and a new road from LA to Brazil with our partner Latam. That's
Yeah.
a really good connection. And as you mentioned, Olivia, thank you. You can use those points to upgrade, buy tickets for both for your Sky Miles and also Sky Bonus. It's a really good advantage to have that program. And
Yes.
thank you again for the partnership.
Well, thank you so much. So with that, I'll be, Carlos, if you can put up the screen, we do have some upcoming events at the chamber. So we're keeping you busy. So number one, we have Elevate Together. If you didn't apply yet, you can do so until May 31st. The most important key is to submit your capability statement so that the chambers, the Elevate Together committee that we put together can review what you do, as well as that 60-second video. So that's key. And also being a member. So if you're not a member, connect with us. We will help you out. And the following event in the month of June, we have two programs with Southern California Edison. The first is on June 14th, back office capabilities, crucial for success. So, you need to have your back office in order to do business. So Shannon Castillo will offer us some of great tips. And then the following week, we have a webinar, Developing a Business Plan with Patricia Click, and that's from 10:30 to 12:30. So as you could see, we'll discuss the value of having a business plan, the key components, a roadmap to a business plan, and more. The LA County has extended its grant application for EOG, so the deadline is now May 31st, and businesses can apply for $2,500 up to $25,000 to kind of help you offset some of the recovery efforts after COVID. Latinitude. So the chamber is not part of it. However, we are supporting our board, our corporate advisory board member, Lorianne Cerna, who will be one of the panelists at an event on May 30th. So you could register at narepllosangeles.org. Next, we have a vendor diversity fair, and that is a program that we're bringing together with the Hospitals Association of Southern California. And our chamber has been working for years to bring you procurement opportunities with hospitals. And this is the perfect venue. So if you supply products and services to hospitals and beyond, we highly encourage you to participate at this free vendor fair on June 29th at PIH Hospital in the city of Whittier. You can go to our website to register. And then lastly, how to protect your business from cyber attack. And that webinar is scheduled for the month of August. So as you could see, we have a lot to offer to our members. Everything that has presented before you is absolutely free. So, we'll be having upcoming events. And I think we have one more, right, Carlos? Our offer to become a member. So if you're attending this webinar and you're not a member, we have a current offer of $105 through the end of June. So please sign up, become a member. As I mentioned earlier, part of some of the benefits is that you get to attend events that are exclusive to the chamber. Number two, you have the opportunity to apply for grants. You get a hold of us, anytime you'd like, during business hours. And most importantly, you can attend some of our exclusive member perks. And that includes being certified through the Department of General Services. Just real quickly, if you want to save the date, October 23rd, we'll be having our 9th annual golf tournament at California Country Club from 10 to 5 p.m. The registration will open June 1st, so we'll be sharing more information on that on both social media and through our e-communications. And so we want to thank you for being with us. Thank you, Darvin. Thank you, Tiago, we love our partnerships with both of you. And please remember, the Chamber is here to help you. You can reach us at info@lalcc.org or give us a call at 213-422-9019. I'm Olivia Rios, and thank you for joining us today.